Yesterday, the Lenten season began. Ash Wednesday is observed by Christians as a day of holy fasting and praying, and this continues up to Easter. During this time, Christians confess their sins and profess their faithfulness to God, our Lord and Savior. Welcome to another Thursday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Stay with us. More is coming up right after the news.
Unsure of when you should apply for your NHT contributions refund? This is your reminder. The National Housing Trust, NHT, is now accepting refund applications for contributions made in 2015. Here is what you need to know. Eligible contributors must apply online. Customers may apply for their refund via NHT's website at nht.gov.jm or through its mobile app, NHT Mobile. The NHT has extended the cash refund granted to eligible public sector workers for 2023. For more information, you may visit their website, nht.gov.jm, send an email to wecare@nht.gov.jm or call 876-929-6500 or 888-225-5648. The National Housing Trust, the key to your home.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, February 23, 2023. Jamaica recorded consistent economic growth across all quarters in the 2022 calendar year. The latest report from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, shows that the October to December quarter grew by 3.4%. The figure was released on Tuesday.
Increased external demand, supported by growth in the economies of Jamaica's main trading partners. 3. Increased capacity utilization, as a major alumina producer ramped up production following their reopening in the previous quarter. And 4, increased business and consumer confidence associated with the prospects for strengthened economic outturn in the short to medium term.
Both the goods producing and services industries recorded growth for the quarter. Meanwhile, the country's economic prospects for the short term remain positive. The PIOJ is projecting economic growth within the range of 3 to 5% for the January to March 2023 quarter. The Planning Institute says this should contribute to overall projected growth of 4 to 6% for the 2022-2023 financial year, which ends March 31st. Similarly, the Bank of Jamaica is projecting growth in the range of 4 to 5.5% for the same period.
Growth will be led by the strong performances for hotels and restaurants and the mining and quarrying industries. For January 2023, preliminary airport arrivals grew by 63.8% and alumina production increased by 125.7%.
The bank expects that GDP growth will continue to be driven by tourism, agriculture, and a resumption of production at the Jamaica alumina plant.
Among factors contributing to the positive outlook, both institutions point to relative stability in the macroeconomy, improved optimism about the future, strengthened demand from increased activities, and continued recovery among Jamaica's main trading partners. For the 2023-24 fiscal year, the PIOJ is expecting the economy to grow by 1 to 3%. In other news, government has delivered on a commitment to table legislation imposing stricter penalties for murder. Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck tabled the Offences Against the Person Amendment Act 2023 and the Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Act 2023 in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The two bills will now be placed before a joint select committee of Parliament to ensure wide consultation. Minister Chuck says members of the committee will be named at the earliest sitting of the House of Representatives. He explained that the increased mandatory minimums would provide greater alignment between the sentencing regimes governing serious crimes and the public's expectations of the justice system.
The possibility of the imposition of a more punitive sentence will go a long way in preserving the credibility of Jamaica's justice system in the eyes of individuals traumatized by the untimely death of their loved ones. These legislative amendments, Madam Speaker, will aid in the fight against the country's soaring crime rate by ensuring that the applicable penalty matches the severity of the crime.
Proposed amendments to the Offences Against the Person Amendment Act include increasing the mandatory minimum sentence of imprisonment for murder from 15 to 45 years. If approved, the mandatory minimum sentence to be served before being eligible for parole will also increase to 50 years for capital murder, to 45 years where the sentence is imprisonment for life, and to 35 years where the sentence is a term of years. Meanwhile, the Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Bill proposes to amend Section 42F of the Criminal Justice Administration Act. This amendment will increase the term of years to be deemed as life imprisonment for murder from 30 years to 50 years. The Justice Minister says a proposed amendment to the Child Care and Protection Act that is generally in line with the objective of these two bills will follow in short order. Local government elections have been postponed for a further 12 months and are to be held no later than February 28, 2024. This follows approval of the Representation of the People Postponement of Elections to Municipal Corporations and City Municipalities Act 2023 in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The bill was passed without amendment. 29 members of Parliament voted for the postponement, while 8 voted against it. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie, who piloted the bill, explained that the postponement would allow the country to continue its post-COVID-19 economic recovery.
The government is sharply focused on two main things. One, building national resilience against any further economic shock, whether caused by man-made or natural disaster. Two, the expansion and the maintenance of strong economic growth that all our citizens can feel and see at a personal level. It is, Madam Speaker, carefully considered the position of the government that the holding of the municipal elections at this time will carry a significant risk, diverting the country from these two vital tasks. That is fully accepted.
Minister McKenzie says government is also seeking more time to ensure that the significant expenditure that the elections require will be effectively managed, alongside other priorities in the economy. He adds that the postponement will provide additional time to conclude consultations regarding Portmore becoming Jamaica's 15th parish.
It is the commitment of the government that Portmore becomes the 15th parish, Madam Speaker. And such postponement, Madam Speaker, will help us to conclude the consultations that are presently taking place.
Local government elections were last held in 2016. And finally, organizers of the World Travel Awards will launch a new series of awards in support of tourism resilience later this year. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett welcomed the announcement, which came during the 3-day Global Tourism Resilience Conference held in Kingston last week.
This is, for me, perhaps the greatest statement of support that the resilience movement could have. For the World Travel Awards has an outstanding history of performance and global notoriety in every important center of the world where tourism is practiced.
The announcement coincided with activities for the inaugural celebration of Global Tourism Resilience Day, February 17, which was proposed by Jamaica and adopted by the United Nations General Assembly.
To have resilience included in the list of awards that will be provided for destinations and countries across the world, it's really a very humbling but satisfying development.
The World Travel Awards recognizes excellence in all key sectors of the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The government of Jamaica recently outlined its priority areas for attention in the upcoming 2023-2024 financial year during the ceremonial opening of Parliament. Here's a recap of projects slated to be undertaken.
With the country's economic output now at pre-COVID levels, unemployment at its lowest, and debt below pre-COVID levels,
now is the time to consider our strong recovery and reignite a decade of growth, peace, and prosperity.
With that charge, the government will continue infrastructure development projects, strengthen policies and legislation, and improve efficiency in the 2023-2024 financial year. Key among these is the appointment of a fiscal commissioner to bring the Fiscal Commission into operation as the guardian of Jamaica's financial rule.
It is also the intention to strengthen the regulations of the financial sector by unifying prudential supervision and regulation under the Bank of Jamaica, while pursuing the establishment of a separate regulator for market conduct and consumer protection.
Regulations governing the selection of board members of public bodies will also come into effect.
In building our stronger Jamaica, transformative infrastructure that provides lasting social and economic value is being given priority.
These include the Maypen to Williamsfield leg of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, the Harbour View to Port Antonio Highway, the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, and the North Coast Highway Expansion Project. Flagship projects such as the new Parliament Building, the Government Campus, the Portmore Resilience Park, and the Kingston Harbour Walk will get underway.
In addition, the government will implement a multi-billion Jamaican dollar special capital expenditure program during 2023-24, which will see the development of major corridors in the corporate area.
An investment of over $6 billion is also earmarked to start construction on the Spanish Town Hospital and continue work on Cornwall Regional and the Western Children and Adolescent Hospitals, as well as the University Hospital of the West Indies. Measures to protect and preserve the environment will include the tabling of an overarching policy for protected areas. Others include the Watersheds Policy, the Climate Change Policy Framework, and the Emissions Policy Framework. Further protection of coastal waters will be strengthened with the purchase of additional marine vessels.
Already, we are seeing the results of greater interdiction of narcotics, illegal and irregular fishing, and a reduction of the flow of guns.
The focus on social protection in the 2023-24 financial year will see the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities being fully staffed and the Disabilities Rights Tribunal being appointed.
A strategic review of the National Council for Senior Citizens will be conducted to ensure that the Council is fit for purpose and equipped to fulfill its mandate.
Recommendations of the 2019 Actuarial Review of the National Insurance Scheme will be presented to Cabinet for tabling in Parliament. The unaudited net asset value of the National Insurance Fund as at December 2022 stood at approximately $156 billion.
In 2023-2024, focus will be placed on the reform of the fund with the aim of establishing a more robust organizational structure and investment policy.
To address another social need, the National Housing Trust will be introducing a new financial model, partnering with regulated mortgage lending institutions. This is to increase the supply of mortgages and release funds to develop affordable housing. And priority focus will continue to be placed on addressing gender-based violence, with a third government shelter set to be operationalized by December 2023 in the Western region. It will provide a confidential and safe space for female victims and survivors. Also,
consequent on parliamentary approval of the amendments to the Firearms Act, drafting instructions have been issued for further amendments to be made to the Domestic Violence Amendment Act based on inputs provided by the Ministry of National Security. For 2023-2024, the government will pursue key legislative reforms to advance efforts towards realizing improved public order, improved public safety, and reduction in crime and violence by prioritizing the following:
the Fingerprints Act, the Immigration Restriction Commonwealth Citizens Act, the Aliens Act, the Proceeds of Crime Act to include unexplained wealth, and the Corrections Act. These are among 30 pieces of legislation critical to several sectors that will have the Houses of Parliament busy navigating their passing. A few others include the Rent Restriction, Port Authority, and Harbors Acts. There are also the Jamaica Teaching Bill, which is now before a Joint Select Committee of Parliament, amendments to the Education Act and Regulations, and the Child Care and Protection Amendment Bill. The Ministry of Health will be focusing on the Tobacco Control Bill and the Food and Drugs Amendment Bill, among others. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will seek to repeal the Plants Quarantine Act and replace it with the Plants Health Act, in addition, tackling amendments to the Agriculture Produce Act. Further amendments will be made to the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, commonly called the Expungement Act, the Employment Agencies Regulation Act, the Civil Aviation Act, the Local Governance Amendment Bill, and the Counties and Parishes Amendment Bill.
The new bail bill, which is now being reviewed by a Joint Select Committee of the Houses of Parliament, will provide an improved legislative framework for bail when passed into law, and will assist in the fight against crime.
A major part of the policy agenda for fiscal year 2023-2024 is the continued implementation of the new public sector compensation reform. Phase 2 will be carried out in the new fiscal year with an allocation of $338 billion budgeted.
The new compensation system reduces and simplifies the unwieldy 325 salary scales and 183 allowances.
The government will also conduct a labor market study of the tourism sector. This will be used to address areas of labor shortage and facilitate hiring arrangements. And as the administration focuses on building a stronger Jamaica, it will include leveraging international relationships at the bilateral, regional, and multilateral levels. This is to secure support for the country's social and economic development objectives.
Let us create a future deserving of generations to come.
Yes, walk right over there and drop it in the bin. Reuse that wastewater from your kitchen for the garden. Get your hands dirty and plant a tree. Farmers, hold off on the pesticides, especially near our rivers. Do your part to protect our watersheds so we can preserve the source of our drinking water. Every act to protect our watersheds counts. Start now.
Being Jamaican is a big deal. Did you know that you could become a Jamaican citizen without actually being born in the country? A person may be granted citizenship through marriage, being a descendant, naturalization, or registration. Watch this next feature to learn more.
Welcome to this, our citizenship swearing-in ceremony. As of today, when asked what is your nationality, they can proudly say, I am Jamaican.
It feels good. It just feels good, you know, to be a Jamaican today.
I'm Charles Opara, originally from Nigeria, but now I'm a Jamaican.
I'm here for 10 years. And today is a milestone, it's a great day. I feel great inside. And I'm looking forward for a greater things to happen.
This step you have taken shows that how much you have embraced Jamaica as your new home. And we look forward to you joining the fold to help us to build our great country with your continued contribution and commitment to Jamaica's growth and development. As Jamaicans know, you have the rights and privileges of any person who is born in Jamaica. Respect it and treat it well.
So how does a person become a Jamaican citizen? The process is either by descendant, marriage, naturalization, or registration. But first, you need to fill out an application form and submit it with all the required supporting documents to the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA. Granting citizenship through descendant means the person has to be an offspring of a Jamaican. The applicant must produce evidence to support this claim.
Then we would review the lineage to ensure that not only that your documents are authentic, but there is really a relationship between you and that Jamaican that you claim to be your foreparent.
If the process is done by way of marriage, the foreign national has to be married to a Jamaican. Commonwealth nationals usually apply through the registration process, and they would have to be living in Jamaica continuously for 5 years. Registration is also done for persons who are born in Jamaica but were not registered at the Registrar General's Department. As for naturalization, a similar accumulated number of 5 years are required for non-Commonwealth citizens who have satisfied the residential requirements and is of good background. Careful assessment is done on each application.
If when we conduct our due diligence, we find that you are unsuitable to be incorporated in the fabric of Jamaica, meaning that you have a bad criminal background, meaning that you are likely to become a nuisance or any of that sort, then the minister who has the responsibility to confer citizenship has the right to say no.
This person is the Minister of National Security.
The minister has the right to refuse an application on the basis of marriage if you have committed an offense for which you were sentenced for more than 2 years. And the same thing for registration and naturalization. We look in your background to see what kind of person are you, what kind of contribution you would be now making should citizenship be granted.
PICA also collaborates with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to verify information.
With the Ministry of Labour, we work together to ensure that you who come to us for registration as a Commonwealth citizen or naturalization and you are employed, that you are properly operating under the Work Permit Act. So there is no breach of any law for the persons who are considered. They must be good citizens from the start.
And to know that their citizenship is official?
I'm lost for words. It feels good. It feels good. Excited. You make you feel like, well, you accomplished something. You're there. It's official now. You could say it in your mind that you're a Jamaican, but now you have the official proofs that I'm a Jamaican.
Today marks a very important day in my life, in the sense that for the past 9 years I've been living and working for the government and people of Jamaica. They have accepted me, having applied for the citizenship. And now I feel at home, fully relaxed, that I can now be with them in the land we love.
I always have a passion for Jamaica. It's like my home. There's something like a DNA connection with Jamaica.
As a resident, I have always tried to better my community, my neighborhood. As a citizen, I will aim at helping out and taking care of this paradise with all the resources at my disposal.
These persons are a representation of the Vision 2030 for Jamaica, which is Jamaica should be the place of choice for people to live, work, raise family, and do business.
As humans, we cannot control the way in which we are born. And that is why it is critical for society to create avenues to have inclusivity of all its members. Up next, we hear the story of one Jamaican who needed that extra support and how he transformed it into a life well lived.
My mother had German measles, rubella, and either I could have had a physical disability, be blind, but I became deaf, and I'm happy with it. I'm perfect with it. My mother, she was really concerned. She didn't know where to put me. St. Christopher's School for the Deaf was too far. It was in Brownstone. So my mother held me at home till I was about 6 years old, and I found Daniel Williams School for the Deaf. I was placed there at 6. And continued from there. The first time I signed, or the first time I witnessed sign language, was 6. Before that, it was lip reading and gestures. The children would sign, but the teachers didn't sign. But I was good at lip reading, but the education aspect of it, learning, that wasn't a part of it. We were focusing on being able to speak and being with speech therapists, and that's why hence not having the great education I should. I was working at Jamaica Flour Mills. It was a good job, but communication was always a challenge. Sometimes there are a lot of misunderstandings. So I decided to resign. I didn't work for 1 year, and then I had my son after that year. And then JD called me, Jamaica Association for the Deaf. It wasn't my goal to be a mentor, but it has truly been beneficial because the children need that. They need role models, they need mentors. I encourage the deaf children to have deaf pride, to know that they can. You are on the same level as a hearing person. It doesn't matter that you can't hear. You have a lot of deaf adults who are successful, and you can achieve. You can get the education that you want. You can do anything that you want. You can achieve. Don't feel like you can't because you're deaf. The same hearing people who are teasing you and saying you're dumb and all these things. Don't focus on that. Focus on yourself and focus on improving yourself. With sign language, everyone is included. That's my philosophy. So that means hearing people have to learn how to sign so that they can respect the deaf community, and the deaf person himself or herself will feel pride. Because when I think back on when I was growing up, how I was forced to lip read and forced to talk, I'm happy to see now that sign language is there and everybody is using it, and that's my philosophy.
That's a wrap on today's show. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to watch this and more on our website, jis.gov.jm. Once again, I'm Theodore Henry. Have a great rest of your day.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.